I do think standards are just something to aspire to, whereas rules deal with issues that you don't want to happen. And you want to inspire and motivate people. So my standards for me is wherever I'm at, I'm going to be the hardest working person in the organization.
Welcome to Limitless Minds, the podcast where curiosity meets greatness. If you're ready to discover what it takes to be truly limitless and push beyond your own limits, you're in the right place.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Success Leaves Clues podcast with Travis L. Thomas and Joshua J. Lifrak.
Yes.
We are here. It's exciting. 2026. We are getting to it here late January.
Yeah.
Took us a minute to get our feet under us. And we're gonna dive in. We have an incredible guest today, Peter Smith, who is a Hall of Fame tennis coach, coached at a number of different places, but most notably at the University of Southern California. Fight on, go Trojans, where he won 5 NCAA championships in 6 years, 4 in a row, the only program to ever do that other than in the current format of college tennis. So
amazing.
Really amazing. USC is a venerable tennis program. We're gonna talk to him in a minute. He's a Hall of Fame. He was inducted into the USTA Hall of Fame as coaches. So we're excited to get him on. But before we do that, we got to do these new nuggets. And
yes,
this is the thing that my brother was just down here in Sarasota, Florida, came down from St. Louis. There's a direct flight on an airline called Southwest.
Yes.
Now, Southwest, I know, Travis, is near and dear to your heart. You fly that a lot. But ... things have changed.
I know it's
at Southwest.
I'm a little nervous.
Which was one of the greatest things in the world of, hey, I'm just going to log in. You know, I'm going to pay the $15. I'm going to get to the front of the line. I'm going to choose my own seat.
Yeah.
My bag is free.
Yep.
This is all gone. And so for those fans who are dealing with the same thing, neutrality, how are you dealing with this, Travis? Is this your nooch nugget? How are you dealing with Southwest change?
This isn't my nooch nugget, but I mean, hey, so because Southwest is my airline of choice for most of my travel, I can get a lot of great direct flights in and out of St. Louis. So I've earned A-list preferred status, Josh. So that does help from the standpoint now that I typically will be able to choose a good seat that I like. The problem is, and I assume I'll be able to get on the plane early. It's always overhead space for us travelers, right? You want to make sure not only do you have overhead space, but you want to have overhead space near your seat. You don't want to have to walk that bag back 20 rows. And then when it's time to get off the plane, you got to have people get your bag up to you or walk back or wait. No. So I'm missing I would always get on the plane within the first 20 seats. I'm going to get a seat that I want. My bag's going to be right there. So yeah. So, Josh, that starts next week, the new policy. So I'll be putting that neutrality into action.
Put it in. Yeah. Don't the past is not predictive of the future just because it was a certain way one way. Yeah. Still, this is the here and the now, and let's manage that.
Yeah. So my neutral nugget, though, is travel related, Josh.
Okay. Talk to me about it. What do we got?
So my neutral nugget, this is the one I was going to throw at you people, Josh, but my neutral nugget was going to be my pants literally catching on fire while on the sidelines with St. Louis University's men's soccer team.
Oh my gosh.
During the Elite Eight, because they had those industrial grade heat jets on the sidelines, and my pants got too close to them and it burned a hole in my pants. I had two layers of pants on. And it was it's kind of those jogger pants, plasticky material. And it melted onto my skin. So I got some burns.
I'm smelling it. I'm smelling
smell
it as you described it. It's kind of almost like skunks and tires.
Yeah.
Skunks and tires.
Totally.
Burning.
So my neutral nugget was how do I stay neutral when my leg kind of caught on fire during the first half of an Elite Eight game. It was more grateful that there were burns, but they weren't bad, and I was fine. So that was going to be my neutral nugget. But my real neutral nugget, and I'm speaking to the people, Josh. I'm speaking to the people. You're probably listening to this after, Stormageddon is rolling through the United States this weekend. I'm back in St. Louis. Did you name it
that, or was that Jim Cantore that named it that?
Probably Cantore. He's ready
for it.
Beautiful. And so I'm in the middle of Stormageddon. So Josh, for me, the neutral I'm having to be neutral right now because I'm supposed to travel out Monday morning for work. Like this is what we do. We're traveling. And so weather, we already know that travel without the weather, it's already a big surrender, and you've got to release, and you got to find a way to deal with the uncertainty and the adversity that comes along with traveling. But I'm already noticing, hopefully this is helpful to people, I'm noticing 3 days away from my travel, how much space it's occupying.
Yep.
Thinking about, well, what's the storm going to do, and how's it going to impact my kids, and how's it going to impact, my flights, and do I need to change my flight? Do I need to get another flight? Do I need to try to get out early? Well, that doesn't make sense. And so that, I mean, sure, I want to be proactive about how we deal with it, but I'm noticing how the anxiousness, right? The anxiousness and the stress that I'm feeling over this thing that I can't control. And so I keep having to, like, I've got my journaling routine in the morning, and I just going through the day going, stop, pause. What can I do about this right now? Nothing. I can't do anything.
No.
I've got to surrender. I got to release. All right. Yes. Is there something that I can do that is like proactive or preventative? Sure. If not, I need to go. I can only control what's happening today. I can only respond. I have to wait and respond to what happens and then choose my next right step. And so it's get to neutral, get anxious again, come back to neutral, get anxious again, come back to neutral. And so yeah,
that's the game, brother.
Yeah.
That's the game.
That's my game. So it's neutral nuggets. That's why they're nuggets. It's not one nugget, baby, because we got to eat another nugget. Give me another nugget, another nugget.
What?
Nugget.
Are you having a specific sauce for this?
Buffalo. I'm going buffalo. It's spicy.
Buffalo spicy, getting a little spicy. Okay.
Some kick.
Like
yeah. All right, man. All right, let me pass the plate to you. What's your nugget?
All right. So my neutral nugget is we had to get our fence fixed, the door on our fence. It's a large door. So we hired a person to come in to do it. They gave us a good quote. It was right there with everything else. And they had done some work on our house before, and it was pretty good. But there was delays and challenges with this particular handy person. And so I found myself getting aggravated with them.
Yeah.
So I just took a deep breath, just let it go, and going to trust the work. And then when the work is done, we'll deal with it after that. Now, in the middle of this, so this person who's not doing great work is working on the fence, and they leave the fence open, and my dog decides to escape. And I walk out, and the dog has run off. And I look at the guys and I go, hey, did a dog come running through here? Did my lab run out? And they're like, oh yeah, I think we saw that. And I'm, okay. So that's, a little bit of a strike.
Yeah.
So I'm a little frustrated. Now, here's the thing. I live on an island, as I've mentioned before. There's 32 houses on it. There's one road in. And my dog, always when he escapes, never goes left and over the bridge. He always goes right down the cul-de-sac where he can't escape.
He didn't want to go.
So I know this.
Good.
My dog likes to just kind of hang in the neighborhood. He doesn't want to run. He's a lab. He doesn't want to get too far away from the food. So I'm calm. I go down my neutral. I'm staying neutral. I'm like, I know he's going to show up sooner or later. Can't quite find him. Finally find him behind somebody else's house that he got trapped behind. Like he went through one area where there was an open for a fence, but then he actually tried to come out the other side.
He found a gate that works. Yeah.
The other fence that works was closed, so he couldn't get there. So he's just sitting there trying to get out. Let him out. He sprints around. He runs to another house. He's so excited. Whatever. Finally get him home. The neutral nugget is this. The workers finish their work, and it's not up to par. They don't stain it. They don't do 3 of the things that said they were going to do. And versus arguing with them and getting very angry with them, they had already put in a bid for another job that we have at our house. They didn't get that bid.
Yeah.
I simply paid the money. Said, thank you very much. And the 3 little things that I had wanted, I just did them myself.
Yeah.
So it was a little bit of like, I could have gotten frustrated. I could have gotten angry. We could have had an argument about it. Could have put a lot of stress and tension and energy into battling with this person who's already showed up late, who's taken 3 days extra to do the job, who didn't do the job like we wanted him to do.
Lost the dog.
The fixes that we needed. He did do the fixes once we called him on it. Was a little bit passive aggressive towards us. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to pay the money so I don't have to deal with this person anymore.
Yeah.
Right. It goes back to the Bronx. What was it? The Bronx Tale with Robert De Niro. Yeah. And they talk, and the guy's like, he was chasing a guy because he owed him $5, but the guy was like really annoying. And then the guy's like, He owes you $5. If he never comes back, he's never going to bother you again because he owes you that money. You're never going to have to deal with him again, and he's super annoying. So you're rid of it for $5.
Yeah.
What does it matter? Let him go.
Yeah.
So that was kind of my neutral nugget.
Yeah.
I am putting that in just straight honey because it was sweet.
Honey.
Like it was sweet. You know, like the dip in the honey.
Yep.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
So that was
sweet. Yeah. And I like it. Those are some tasty nuggets.
Yeah, it was good. And now I have a weekend project in this beautiful 75-degree sunny weather.
Yeah. We
have 4 days of winter, and now we're in spring.
We don't care about that, Josh. No one in the country outside of Florida cares about that. So, who's
Do you know who else? Do you know who else is accustomed to sunny weather?
You're probably our guest today.
Our guest today. Yes, he is, because he's out in it all the time. You know that he just won the world championship for doubles over 60 years old.
Really?
Yeah. He was down in, I believe he went, I want to say it's Chile that he went down to, but he went down somewhere in South America and won this doubles championship as a 60-year-old. And
well, maybe he'll tell us about that.
Yeah, he will. We're gonna bring it up.
There's probably some clues to his success.
Yeah, there are. I think I'm just gonna put the hat on.
Yeah.
I'll put the hat on right now. The fight on hat. The SC hat. There it is. My hat does not look good as your hat. I run in this hat. It's worn out. But the best thing about this hat, Travis, ready? I don't know if you can read that. Those are the 4P. That's the 4P championship.
National championships. 4P.
Look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4. 09, 2010, 2011, 2012.
I'm just wearing a Jupiter Lynx hat. Yeah. Shout out to the Jupe.
So we're going to learn a lot from our guest because he started as the youngest head coach ever in Division I tennis history at the age of 23.
Crazy.
And we're going to learn about that and then his historic rise to becoming a Hall of Fame coach and then winning 4 straight championships, including going 33-1 in the 2012 season. 2011 season? 2012 season. 33-1 NCAA champions. 4P. Anyway, Peter Smith, come on in. So welcoming in the Silver Fox, Peter Smith. There's a story behind that we will not reveal on this podcast. Did not get recorded, so we'll let that lie. But Peter, welcome in. Thanks for joining us today. Here we are. Obviously, Travis and I are super excited to talk to you, in terms of basically just your career and like coaching and the whole 9 yards. We're super excited. You are currently at the Jack Kramer Club. Is that correct? And what town is that in LA?
I think the best town to say is Palos Verdes, which is just west. It's in actually Rolling Hills Estates, which there's like 4 little cities within like 6-7 miles. And I don't know, they all change, I don't know who made the city lines, but
Yeah, and your role there now is what?
I'm the general manager and the director of tennis. So it's a dual role. It's a lot like coaching Division I. You got to do some office work and you got to be out on the court. So it's a great balance for me. Sometimes it can seem like 2 full-time jobs, but my energy's still there. So it's going good.
And they have great hats as well as the other. I already showed the one hat, but he just gave me an unbelievable Jack Kramer hat too. Yeah, look at that. Look at the blue on there. I mean, that's nice. Spectacular. That's spectacular, nice. Huh, Travis?
Yeah.
Maybe you'll be lucky enough to get one. I'll be out there this
got
week.
it. There we go. Travis. That one's new. So, maybe that's got your name on it, Travis. Travis, I love it.
Put my address in the chat there. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, got it. Do that. So you got into coaching really young. Yes, am I correct about that? Like 23 years old? Did I read this right?
I always say my career found me. I did not find my career. I was not interested in coaching. I went out on the tour, my version of the tour, minor leagues, and played. I was about 360 in the world, and my dad was like, "What are you going to do? You haven't graduated from college." And looking back on it, I can't believe they let me leave college without graduating. What were they thinking? And so I went back to get my degree. I had 21 units to graduate. I probably would have just gone out and played. But my coach called me in one day and said, I'm leaving tomorrow and I'm going to recommend they hire you. So I don't know what any of them were thinking, but I went to one of my classes and said, hey, they're going to interview me for the head coaching job. And she literally stopped class, which is amazing because she was a founding member of the Jack Kramer Club. Totally
wow.
coincidental.
Comes back.
Yes. And she stopped class. And for the next hour and a half, the class interviewed me. And I went straight from the class to the interview.
I love
And
that.
so needless to say, I like to say I didn't mess it up. I used another word, but we can't really say that. I didn't F it up. So, you got to do just sometimes good enough. Like not messing it up is good. That's step number one.
Well, Peter, tell me from, I know you have a ton of humility, but like put yourself, if you can, back in your 23-year-old shoes, and the coach says, I'm stepping away and I'm going to recommend you. What was it? What do you think that you had at that young age that, a coach would see that that you would be capable and prepared to take a team over that young?
I would say this about a lot of things in my life. And Josh sent me some questions, and I had a really busy day yesterday. I didn't get to look at them till this morning. I looked at the questions this morning, and I was like, uh-oh, we're in trouble here. Because I couldn't answer any of the questions. And I was driving into work, and I called my wife, and I'm like, okay, there's a couple people that know me really well, and Josh is one of them. But I would say it's on one hand I said, honey, you know the answers to these questions. We got to go over them, dear. But to answer your question,
I'm not asking you any of them. By the way, none of them. We're not going to ask you any of them. We just wanted to get you prepared.
But the funny thing is, I said I didn't get along with my coach. We literally didn't get along. And so to look back on it, and the fact that he was actually probably one of the 2 or 3 most influential people in my life, but at that point we weren't getting along. And I have no idea. I know that, I was, when I took the job, I had respect for my players. I think the interesting thing is we had 12 guys on the team. 6 of them were my teammates. The first thing I said to them is, we can't go out for beers anymore. Yeah. No more going out together. And you can't call me Peter. And they said, we're not calling you coach. We're just not. We're not doing it. And so it was kind of funny. And I came up, I said, okay, let's just give me a nickname. Call me Co. So they call me Co. To this day, when I see them, they still call me Co. My youngest son, Coulter, calls me Co. And it is my most endearing nickname.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess they respected the person I was. And trust me, I'm far from perfect, but it went great.
Well, yeah.
One of my more favorite seasons.
What was that like? Open that up a little bit as far as
just for the listeners. Long Beach State, right? That's what we're at.
Yeah, Long Beach State, 1987. I was coaching the team and
was your hair down to your like shoulders at that point? Did you have
no?
What did we got?
It was definitely a little color. It was kind of a mop. I kind of had a big mop.
Yeah, it just feels
not a pro, but like kind of the feathered look.
Yeah, a little 80s feathered. Yeah,
we could dig in and find it. Yeah, it's definitely. I wanted to be Farrah Fawcett's boyfriend, I guess. No one under 40 is getting that one, but
no, they don't understand at all.
Yeah, they don't get it.
Look her up. Look her up. Yeah.
But yeah, Google her. And so yeah, it was crazy. In 3 of my classes, I had my team members in the class. Actually, in one of the class, which was Olympics something, they had to give a speech about the Olympics, and they're unprepared. And they came up to me on the last class, and they said, "Co, we got nothing. You got to give a speech for us." And I was going to give a speech, and so I went to the teacher, Dr. Rose, and I said, "Dr. Rose, I have a speech, and I'm representing 4 of us." And the line was out the door because everyone waited till the last day.
Yeah.
And he stopped and put me in front. And immediately I had to speak. So I winged it about the 1984 Olympics, and they all passed the class. So if that's breaking some NCAA rules, I don't think so. But, that's a coach going to the mat for their team.
Yeah, and some improvisation skills to go with it, Coach.
Which you're very excited about, aren't you, Travis?
Yeah.
I'm really excited.
George Husak, who Josh knows well, he would always say, never prepare for a speech. If you prepare, you're terrible. If you don't prepare, you're pretty good. So there you go.
Horrible advice. And just as we say, the separation and the preparation, but that's okay. That's okay.
That's right. That's right.
But so okay. So you go there, you have this year. Like, what are some of those from that time, right? Because there's no way you were perfect as a coach then, and nor were you, nor any of us are perfect as coaches or whatever we're doing. But what were some of the bigger mistakes that you made that you learned from and you grew from?
Yeah, I mean, having a plan every day. I asked my wife this question this morning, and she said, I think the best thing about you is you never changed. I think what I understood, first of all, I became a coach. I had a part-time assistant, but I really didn't have an assistant. I had 6 guys on the team, and most of them were starters that were my teammates and what I would call my friends. So I leaned heavily on them. So relationships is the most important thing. And I was reading an article a few years ago, and what I decided I have is unconscious expertise. I really don't know, but I knew that at that time that coaches don't win, players win. I didn't know that. I couldn't say it, but intuitively I felt it, and I trusted my guys. So I used them as my assistants, and we talked about a lot of things. And from that was just a playbook I had that I just used throughout my career. And even up until my last year, I think it got harder as I got older. But it was relationships and love. I think I loved my players. And I just saw a player the other day, and he was on my first team, Pat Crow. And the hug we shared was just, it's just like we have a bond that will never be broken. And that same hug I could share with Daniel Wynn, or, Eric Johnson, or, certain people, obviously. And we can say Steve Johnson, but we're going to try not to talk about Steve today. He's just the figure. So, but I think intuitively, I just knew that. And I don't know where that came from. I was the youngest of 5 kids. I do think all of that had something in play there.
Yeah. Well, Pete, if just to follow up on, so relationships and love, if you could paint a little bit, so what do those look like as sort of behaviors within the team structure or within your culture?
Yeah, that they were those people are very, very important to me, and I'm very important to them, and I've got your back. We're going to work really hard. We're going to be competitive, but we're in this together. There's no you, me, there's an us. And if we're going to fail, we're going to fail together. So I always said, when we lose, it's my fault. When they win, it's their win. And, having said that, I do think the coach of any team is the most important player. Look, you can't win without stars, but you can't win without organization and leadership. And I think that's what a good coach brings to the table. And look, I can coach a lot of average players, and we'll be average. We'll be probably a little better than average, but you can't win without talent and leadership. So those two go hand in hand.
Yeah, it's interesting because you didn't want to talk about Stevie J, bring him up because we just had him on the podcast a couple of weeks ago. And one of the things that he mentioned was that he, when you guys were going through the title runs there, he mentioned we led the team. Like the older guys will bring along the younger guys, and that they really held the culture to a standard. And so it was, and so that comes from you, though, it sounds like, in terms of, hey, guys, we're going to do this. And we need you to hold these youngsters that are coming up. We need you to hold Eric Johnson accountable because he doesn't know yet, as he's coming onto the team. We need you to hold Yannick Hoffman accountable because he just doesn't understand it yet. So get in there, talk to Roberto, let him know what's going on, and it sounds like that's kind of where it came from. So it's awesome that you are both saying the same thing.
A million percent. They had to lead my message, my standards. I didn't like rules. I liked standards, but they had to lead it. And the most important relationships on the team was between myself and the captains. And, during those years, Stevie was such this imposing figure, an incredible figure, but guys wouldn't go against Stevie. They just wouldn't. And I didn't understand that until he left, because then, like Emilio Gomez is now complaining about the weight program. I'm like, wait, you've been here 3 years. I'm like, oh, right. He'd go against me, but he wouldn't go against Stevie. And to be on the same page as your captains and your leaders of the team is crucial. And then for them to hand it down. We struggled there at the end because guys didn't follow that. That kind of broke down. The leadership broke down a little bit, but we had a great run, and you can't always be perfect. And that was that. And, but yeah, Stevie, Rob, Abdullah Magdis, just some incredible human beings.
About Magdis. Yeah. That's great.
So Peter, you talk about, and again, I think a lot of the listeners we have on the podcast are leaders, maybe not so much in the sports world. I'm sure there's some, but in the corporate world as well. And that idea of standards, more of a focus on standards than rules. So if you could talk a little bit more about that, why that was from your standpoint, and then what were some of those standards? I know it's obviously tennis specific, but I know it'll be transferable. But so why standards over rules, and what did some of those standards look like?
Yeah, now I'm the general manager of a equity owned club. We, have roughly 500 members. You can dice it up a lot of different ways. We have between 40 and 50 employees, depending on what time of year. And I can tell you that everything that I did to run a team, a college tennis team, apply here. So, I don't like rules because inherently I'm Irish, and I don't think Irish people are rule followers. My dad, we used to go into, we were 4 boys in we had 5 kids, 4 boys. And we'd go into like an all you can eat place in the 80s. Everything was all you could eat. And his message to us was, let's shut this place down, and he would get in fights because they're like, no, you can't have fourths. You just can't. And they're like, well, the sign says. Yeah. So inherently, my breed is not to follow rules.
Ruined it for everybody. Ruined it for everybody.
I'm just like in South Carolina when I worked in Myrtle Beach, the Pelicans, right? The Cubs. I was always in Myrtle Beach, and they have all of these seafood, all you can eat seafood place buffets, and I'm like so scared of them. So I just have this image of you going in there and just like suffering for like 4 days afterwards.
No, I think we stayed away from the seafood places. It's more like Italian.
Why are there all those flies on the crab? Don't worry about it.
Well, good. How much pasta and pizza can you eat? But I do think standards are just something to aspire to, whereas rules deal with issues that you don't want to happen, and you want to inspire and motivate people. So my standards for me is wherever I'm at, I'm going to be the hardest working person in the organization. I'm going to show up first, go home last. Obviously, I can't do this at the club. It opens at 6 a.m. and closes at 10. Although I will say I've been here at 6 and been here at 10, but you just can't follow that schedule. I'm going to work the hardest. I'm going to be a great communicator. I'm going to be a great listener. I'm just going to set a culture that is second to none. And I want people to just love being a part of this team. And that's what I refer to. We have teams within the teams. The managers are a team. The employees are a team. The members are a team. And it just keeps expanding outward. So if you're doing a good job with the managers, and the managers are promoting that to the employees, but the employees get to see me work extremely hard every day, and hopefully that inspires them, and also bring a certain attitude, to the business. Patient, listening. Again, you aspire to be these things. You're not always perfect, but that's what you want to try and do.
Yeah, it's interesting too. You talk about a standard. I think back to a lot of those teams that were successful that we were a part of, and one of the things that really jumped out at me now that I reflect on it is there was an aggression there of we're going to go take it, but we also didn't shoot ourselves in the foot, and that's like a really hard balance within tennis. Where there's guys hitting winners. There's also like they didn't make a lot of unforced errors too. How do you train that, or like how did you instill that in the team? Am I right about that, first of all? And then secondly, I mean, how did you do that?
Well, I used to always tell them rule number one: get the ball in.
Yeah.
I mean, little details. I made our courts slow. Our practices were tough. We didn't, we worked on consistency, but we also worked on taking time away. I was super fortunate to have great influences in my life. And, I just learned from all of them. But yeah, like, for instance, when I was coaching the team, my brother Jim was a big influence in my life. And I was looked at him as the most competitive person I ever met. I think he was almost too competitive sometimes, but I wanted the team to view me as the most competitive person they've ever seen in their life. So, but I also made competing super fun. We competed every day. We competed with ultimate frisbee. We competed. I just made it fun. So I
Yeah.
didn't want them to think competition was something bad and losing was
Or stressful
all.
for that matter.
Yeah, losing was all part of the process. And I tried not to, you learn over the years, but I tried not to stress about losing a mid-season match. The only thing that mattered was the last 2 weeks. That was it. It was all getting ready for those 2 weeks.
And UCLA.
Yeah, but if you look at our greatest run, where we were 35-1, our one loss was to UCLA, and we had won 45 straight matches over 2 years. And we were doing a great day honoring former coach Dick Leach. The place was packed. We had the in and out truck. It was just this incredible environment that you look back on and it's just like, wow. Maybe there's 1,500 people there, but it was just a tennis match that was a rock concert. It was so much fun, and we lost that match. And what I realized, like a week later, that loss was like the best thing in the world for us, because now we played him again in the semis and we wanted to get him back, and we got him back. So maybe if we had beaten them,
Yeah.
and we had been all happy, we would have played that match like trying to protect something. When you compete, you can never protect something. You got to be going after it.
I love that. You had mentioned, Peter, as far as one of your standards, great communication and being a great listener. And I'd already had the question written down before the interview started about what did communication look like? And I think more specifically, as the coach, the level of frequency and feedback, maybe for a player, and all of that contextually. I often see a lot of great leaders and a lot of great coaches maybe drop the ball, no pun intended, when it comes to that level of frequency that they have with the communication of player, and where there's a lack of communication, there's an increase in stories, and those stories are never good stories. So how did you prioritize communication? But more importantly, what did that look like for you coming from the coach's perspective?
Well, when I went to Pepperdine, the office was right next to the team room. So that door was open. And so the guys would be hanging out in the team room, and there was access. When I went to USC, my office was in another building. And I was like, what is going on here? And so I immediately moved my office to the team room. I just put a desk at the end of the team room. And so when we redid our facility, $15 million, I said, my office has to be in the team room. It has to have glass, and the guys need to see me always. So being available, being amongst them, showing up early, like Brandon Holt, who played one for us, now playing on the tour. Like he was an early bird like me, and he used to like always like go, wow, man, I'd get to the office at like 7:30, and you'd be there. And what he didn't know was I had to beat traffic going into LA. So I was leaving at like 5:15. I really didn't have a choice. It was either half an hour at 5:15, but that was part of it. Like, and we just had this great relationship because it'd be just us in there, and just being available. And I think being the youngest of 5 kids, I think inherently I had an emotional intelligence that again I wasn't really aware of, but being able to feel what other people feel was something that came naturally to me, because they would always send me to see mom when she was mad at everyone else. And so
and what about the listening? When what does that look like as a coach, right? To be a good listener.
yeah, you just need to hear the other person. It's hearing them first before saying what's on your mind. And literally I do that at Jack Kramer Club. I love to, it's not a big club, like I said, but I love to go to the different places. Our front desk is, a few feet from my from my office, and chat and get here early enough to chat with the person working the front desk, and go down to the cafe, steal a French fry, and talk to the cooks there, and just having that relationship, and just telling them how much I appreciate them, how hard they work, and they're the backbone of this club, because really they are. And there's 3 or 4 people at this club that make this club what it is. And letting them know that I recognize them and honor them and appreciate that service is really important.
Yeah, it's funny as you were describing, putting the desk in the team room. I remember the first time I came out to SC, and you go into Mark Stadium, and there's Peter's desk, and at the time Brett Massey's desk, and there's just trophies everywhere. First of all, there's just NCAA trophies. Like there's one in like the couch, just kind of sideways. And there's just like, but then all the guys
doors open. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. But it's just like it was like everybody was just hanging out, and they would swing in. It was great because all the time, like you'd be like, "Oh, D-Win, what are you doing here at like 10 a.m.?" He's like, "Oh, I'm in between classes, so I'm just coming to hang out, and I'm gonna, do my grips or whatever." But it was just a place where they could congregate and be a part of something, and it felt like their own, right? And I think that was a big kind of secret to the success. Was it didn't feel like it was it felt like you belonged to something, and it didn't feel like an obligation to be an NCAA Division I player. It felt like an honor to be part of this club, and it was just fun for the guys. And then you would just hear they would always tell the stories about what they were doing on the weekend, and you just like, oh, I remember when I was 20, and it's just kind of like that. So it was, but Peter created that safe space for them. I don't think I even went into the locker room for the first 3 years. Like I didn't even know where it existed. It's like, oh, that's where the locker room is. It's over there. Okay, cool. And if you talk about pro sports, this, Travis, like most of the guys, they're always in the locker room. They're not, but now here they are, and they're in the team room, and it's safe, and they had so much fun in there. It was really cool.
The team room was our locker room. We had, in the early days, the locker room was so bad. It was 2 separate locker rooms, and, they built it in 1970. So like you couldn't even fit all the guys in there. It was really, really small. It should have been 2 locker rooms, which is what we made it. And even when we redid the facility, it was like I used to always think to myself, man, I should not have put glass up. It just should have been open. Just that pure openness.
Yeah. So I mean, just how important, I love that, how you shared how important it was to kind of manipulate the physical space in order to create greater connection.
100%. And but also like that was my comfort level. I loved being with the guys. Right. I just loved it. And that was what I loved. So it wasn't like something I was forcing or pushing, or it was very natural to me. And I think also the team understood that.
And so when it came to you, again, giving harsh feedback, and when I say harsh, how about honest or critical feedback to a player, how important was transparency to you, and what, and did you want to be as completely honest and straightforward, or what did that look like for you?
Yeah, I think being real was always very important to me. But I wanted to be real and I wanted to be positive. I just think there's always a way to say something that doesn't come across as so negative.
Mm-hmm.
So guys know when you're not genuine, and I made that mistake of not being completely honest and saying something that was maybe a little easier, but just being authentic
Yeah.
to them. But I think great coaches challenge you. It's like, hey, you're not like uncovering your greatness. Your greatness is this, but it's going to hurt a little bit. Like you have to open yourself up, and
Yeah.
and that's going to hurt a little. And so to get to that place, but you can do it. I know, I have faith in you that you can do it.
Yeah.
So it's that challenge and that push to get them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and to that end, Peter, like, what have you seen from the guys or the women that you've coached that have, like, what do they do to maximize their abilities, their talents, their gifts, and what have you seen that holds people back?
Yeah, I think people are afraid. They're afraid of failure. They're afraid to be exposed. I think sports reveal what's that? Reveal character, and that's okay. Like no one is perfect, and no one doesn't get to a certain place without failure and adversity. Tiger Woods said that. I'm nothing without adversity was a quote. I don't know that he ever said it publicly, but I know he said it privately. Like, and I just think adversity pushes you to a place, and all of the L's losses I've had in my life have enabled me to be more successful. Jim Lair said, stress isn't bad, right? It's just too much stress is bad. But stress pushes you to a place. You just have to have a moment to regroup, have an off season, whatever, and then go forward. So, that's, Eva Jovic, who played in the Australian Open last night. She just beat Jasmine Polini. She's 18 years old. She's a member at our club. And, a lot of us coached her here, but I coached her for 5 years. She's 18. She's in the fourth round of 16 of the Australian
Yeah.
Open. She was a young woman. The first day I worked with her, I just said, wow, she's different. She's special. And you could tell right away. But she wasn't afraid of failure. Other people protect themselves. They don't want to fail. In tennis, it's, you're out there by yourself, you're going to fail. Even a perfect match, you have failures, right? And Federer said you only won 54% of his points. The best players in the world win 54, 55% of the points, but win 80% of the matches.
Yeah.
So that's a crazy stat. So you have to learn to view failure as a certain way. I mean, they're stepping stones. And sometimes you take one step back, two steps forward, two steps back, three steps forward. It's you can't look at it as failure. It's just steps. So that's important to remember. Sometimes we're in the middle of it. It's hard to remember that, but that's there.
So when it came to you said earlier, obviously players win matches, players win championships. So when you're recruiting, or when you're recruiting players for the program, obviously you want good players. But what were the qualities? What were the attributes in addition to just being a quality tennis players that you would try to maybe vet out in the recruiting process?
Yeah, I mean, I when I first got to USC, Dick Leach told me before, this is your kid in a candy store here. Be careful with that. And I recruited on numbers. I mean, Dick Gould, who is the coach at Stanford, the greatest coach, 17 NCAA titles, just like crazy stats. He recruited only off ranking. That didn't work for me. We had not such a great team my fourth or fifth year at USC. And so I scrapped the rankings. I just stopped looking at rankings and started looking at people. And, like Stevie was the third best player in Southern Cal. The other two were great players, but Stevie was third best and ended up being the greatest college player of all time. So what I wanted was people that I related with and people that I thought would listen to me and work hard. And when I had that, that's and explaining myself to them. If they understood me and got me, then I wanted them to understand that in the recruiting process, that who they were getting. So
what would you say relating to you? What does that look like when you're like, I wanted someone who could relate to me? I imagine there's probably some shared qualities there that you're relating to with one another.
Well, I wanted team guys, and tennis is not necessarily a team sport so much. A lot of these kids have never been on teams, especially in today's world where they're prioritizing tennis so early.
They haven't even been in school. They've been at home, doing homeschool, let alone.
Yeah, I mean, what COVID changed, I think, for a lot of athletes, especially in individual sports, is they don't go to school anymore.
Yeah.
And but I just that the team was extremely important to me.
Yeah.
And extremely important to our program. But I said, what you don't understand is if you can buy into this team, the team will make you rise. It'll make you rise so much higher than if you were just by yourself. And we saw that time and time again. I mean, look, Stevie, he was a team guy. Robert Farah, team guy. They just loved that. And the team helped them rise to heights. Case Van Hoff, team guy.
Yep.
So they just special individuals, and I didn't know that when I was recruiting them, but I wanted them to understand. And I lost a few guys that ended up that are great people that went to UCLA. And, it was just, they didn't buy into my message. I think they could have bought into the program once they got a part of it, but I wanted them to understand where I was coming from.
Yeah.
And what was important to us. What was our standard?
It's amazing too. You talk about team. And the thing that I remember, like one of my, there were so many moments during that 6-year run, but the last championship, and I don't know if you remember this, but the boys actually came to you after they lost and they said, we want morning practices. We want to do fitness in the morning. We want to get on the sand and run in the sand with remember they had the masks that would restrict the oxygen, but they came to you. The captains came to you for that. Like you didn't suggest it. And that was like that for me. Like when they did that, I was like, oh, this one's in the bag. This one's done. Because it was like they, and it was like even before NCAAs, it was like months out. And so it was amazing to me. But that for me, that showed team right there. Because they knew they were underperforming and they needed to do something different. And so they came to you. And is that how the story went, right? Like they came to you and they're like, hey, listen, we need to do more practices.
Well, I mean, I think hopefully they felt good enough, in our relationship, that they were okay doing that and they knew I'd listen. And I remember we were on the volleyball courts.
Yep.
Beach volleyball courts doing the workouts. And we had a great strength coach, Coach Keith. And, he was amazing.
Throwing medicine balls over the volleyball nets and running around with these oxygen restriction masks. I was like, oh, this is done. There's not another team in the country doing this stuff. This is a done deal.
I was never afraid to try anything. I always said if I tried 10 things and 9 didn't work, I was 10% better. That's how I looked at it. My wife is like, you're the most open-minded human being I've ever met. And, I've made some bad purchases over the years and my family teases me about them, but
what was like the worst purchase? What was the worst thing? Now we gotta know. Now we gotta know this. What was like? What's the thing that kill you on the most?
This one lives on, and the daughter-in-laws tease me about this, and they're like, I mean, Coulter's got a girlfriend, wonderful girl. Like she told a joke. I was like, how did she even know this story? I was in the mall. I mean, I was in the mall. It was God, maybe 10 years ago, and it was like one of those Italian guys selling steamers. And this guy, like I was born in Italy, so I love Italians. And I'm just like, God, he's got a great accent. This is unbelievable. So I bought this steamer and it was like, hey, you can have one for 50, two for 3 for $75. This makes you look at your shirt. We make your shirt pretty. And so I bought 3 steamers. And so the Coulter's girlfriend said, "Hey, at least I'm not like your dad. I only bought one. I didn't buy three." I'm like, how does she even know this story?
Wait, so one steamer, I get this. One steamer for the house, one for the office. Where's the third
No,
steamer
Travel.
going?
It's a travel
I was like,
steamer. Come
man,
on.
this is a great deal. Think of, I can give this to somebody. I'll give it to Tammy. Tammy can give it to somebody else. It was just, oh man, they cry laughing over that story. I'm like, come on, it wasn't that bad, but that's me. I'm a little idealistic. I'll believe in it.
Yeah, we have a lot in common, Peter. But I don't think my wife would package it in such a nice way, calling me the most open-minded individual. She's got some other ways of describing
listen,
me.
I bought a freaking ice bath off of Instagram. I got suckered by that sucker thing.
Yeah,
So there you go.
I mean,
Yeah,
you want to believe. You want to believe. So yeah, I mean, and yeah, Tammy would say other things about me. So wives are they're honest without maybe that positivity all the time.
yeah, they are. There's such psychological safety that they just cut right to it.
Yeah,
I
there
saw
it is.
I saw an Instagram reel the other day, and the guy said, "I really enjoy that 12 seconds of total bliss with my wife every day." I showed it to my wife, and she's like, "Come on, it's at least 30."
At least. All right, Peter. So speaking of your wife, which I know she helped you with your responses.
In your steamer.
She said the one thing she said what's great about you is that you haven't changed, right? You haven't changed. I'm guessing when she says that it's your authenticity, it's your heart, it's your essence of who you are hasn't changed. As you reflect a little bit on such an amazing career, what has changed just from your perspective as far as how you think about sort of just coaching or the game in general?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm bad at stuff like that. I know I still really enjoy what I do. I've been blessed with a high energy. I've always had a good energy, a good competitive spirit, a knack for being a part of a team. But I don't know. I wouldn't say that about myself, but I judge Tammy's a good judge of me. I've been super blessed to be married to her for 35 years, and we're extremely opposite. But that has positives, and she's been there every step of the way. So she deserves so much credit because, you know, I had a teammate say, "Wow," a team member say, "You're the most patient person I've ever met." And I think my family would say I'm not very patient at all. But you take on a certain persona at work.
Yeah.
And that's what I try and have here. So yeah, I don't know. That's one of those questions I don't feel good enough to answer. But
I'll ask her. Don't worry. I'll ask her instead. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll call Tammy. We got that. No problem. But like, I do have a question. It kind of relates to what you're just talking about. So you mentioned it earlier. You're the first one there, last one to leave. Within reason, obviously, you're not 6 a.m., 10 p.m. But you've been the hardest worker out there. That's one of your values. So a lot of times, the hardest worker out there burns out. Right. And we see it a lot, certainly in sports and that burnout factor, especially with youth sports nowadays. So how do you avoid that? How do you avoid, burning out really and keeping that flame lit and staying excited and all those things. And for those of you who haven't had the pleasure of seeing Peter on court, it is just like, it is go, go, go. It is enthusiastic. It is energized. It is infectious. So how do you do that? How do you do that? How do you balance that act of working your tail off, but not burning out?
yeah, I think not to refer to my beautiful, lovely wife, Tammy, I did ask her that question this morning, and she said, well, Robin Schofield took me aside one day and said, your husband is very appreciative and always talks about you. So my family was extremely important to me. 3 boys, Tanner, Riley, Coulter. I wished for a better relationship with my father. And so when they were born, I told them they were about to have the greatest father in the history of life. And I know hopefully we're all tied on the podium. Just that balance that I would go to work early when I started at USC. Coach Leach had his practice every day at 1, which was like, wow, you're done by 3:30. Like, what do you do? So I actually, we kept the same practice times. Actually, we went later on Tuesday, Thursday, but on Monday, Wednesday, I was leaving there a lot of times by 3:30. So I started a clinic, a kids clinic, from 4 to 6 on Monday, Wednesdays to get my kids involved in tennis. I couldn't be the little league coach, so I wanted just to have them involved in a group, and I think that helped. But yeah, I mean, family's everything to me. And what's super interesting about my life is I live 3 blocks from where I lived in college. And I don't say, I've said this once before, but if someone could have met me at my apartment on the Toledo and Beaumont Shore and walked me over to Covina and stood me in front of the house, just amazing. All that I have. So, and that's to have those boys walk out, my wife and their wives, and just, I feel very blessed and lucky.
Yeah. It sounds like the value of family keeps you grounded, and that grounding keeps you going. And that allows you to recognize, hey, like that's the most crucial and important thing. So there isn't any burnout because you're surrounded by the people that you love every single day. And it's amazing. It's amazing. I've definitely seen that relationship, with his kids and with his wife and the whole family, now the extended family of, girlfriends making fun of his steamers, the whole thing. It's like, you can see just like bringing in family, grew up with the 4 brothers and sisters. Right. So it's like, yes, makes sense. So that's awesome.
I love it.
One of the things I think that we did very well as a family young is my wife insisted that we were going to have a family dinner every night, no matter what. And it's hard. I mean, fortunately, all of them ended up playing tennis, so they were all on the same schedule. And one of the things that I had heard from somebody was, let's talk about the best parts of the day. I mean, there's high lows. I've heard that. I don't actually want to hear the lows. Let's talk about something that was either funny or inspirational or cool that happened to you today. And so at a very young age, our kids were talking about their days. So I felt like it really helped them to communicate. And we had a lot of shared experiences. And everybody knows that I can just say the darndest things at at the table. And, my oldest wife is Lily, and she'll just like, yep, there you go. Crossing the line again. Yep, good for you. Got you. But we just have so much fun. And one of the things that, like when we go to the NCAAs, like every night was a celebration.
Yeah.
Like we are going to have dinner and we are going to have fun and we're going to tell stories. And like, that's all part of the process. And, you don't talk about winning. We went and played the world championships this last year for our age group. And I told the captain, I said, hey, look, here's the deal. This is all I know about winning. Winning is, we know that's the goal. You don't talk about it. That's obvious. Okay. This is what we're going to do. We're going to have the best food every night. We're going to eat great wine. We're going to have the best dinner, and we're going to tell stories. And then we're going to go out the next day and we're going to do exactly what we love. And we're going to feel so grateful because of this opportunity. And then if we're lucky, things break right. Those people that talk about, oh, you got to do this, you got to do, it's just overthinking and overcoaching. And you know what to do, like trust it. I was fairly good at getting guys to get out of the way of themselves.
That's huge.
That's huge, man. That's, this guy right here, Ganesh, the god of removing obstacles, and the biggest obstacle oftentimes is ourselves.
100%. And like my openness, like, Josh here in Florida, like we didn't know each other. We traded. I'm like, I'm all in. I like this. And it was crucial, right? The stuff you did was incredible.
Fooled them again, Travis.
Yes.
Again.
I mean, you can't, like Dr. Yamada, owned a rehab center. I'm like, let's try this. We're going to do some DNS on the guys.
Yeah.
It was just crazy what he was doing. Yeah. And so, sometimes you get it right, but sometimes you buy 3 steamers.
Yeah. Well, that's
And I think
failure is part of the process.
Yes. Yes. You can't be afraid of failure.
Yeah.
sometimes you get it right. Sometimes
Well,
you buy
well,
3 steamers.
well,
That could be the end. That's it. That's it. That's the mic drop right there. That is it.
I wouldn't trade that one for anything.
3 Steamers with Peter Smith is the title of this podcast. Well, hey, Peter, before we let you go, this is the Success Leaves Clues podcast. So Josh and I just like to give you what we heard, right? What we heard, because we want others who are listening to be able to say, hey, I can take that behavior, I can take that tidbit, and again, translate it to whatever field or industry that they're in. And so I've got a couple notes here, Josh, as far as what I heard.
Go ahead.
I have a book of notes, but as far as like Success Leaves Clues, first one I have, Josh and Peter, is again, is openness. You've probably said openness, open-minded. You've probably said that a dozen times. And so just, I'd said you clearly have a lot of humility, but that open-mindedness, that humility to keep learning and to keep evolving. And like you said, one idea out of 10, we're 10% better. So I've got that open-minded quality. Josh.
Yeah, I'm just authenticity, vulnerability, honesty. Those are the things, and then willing to lean on others to support. And empowering. I mean, I think that's one of the things you did great, was you empowered the leaders of your teams. You said, I trust you. And that trust created a greater impact across the board. So authenticity and that trust of others.
Yeah. Modeling the behaviors that you're looking for in your players, obviously being there early, no one's going to work harder than you are. And obviously you're modeling that as a coach, how far that goes. But I love, Josh, you just said empowered, but I mean, there's empowerment and then the appreciation and the recognition, even in your current job, right? Walking around and talking, like just how crucial that is. And we know for coaches, you might have guys who aren't maybe playing a lot, or they're not getting the minutes, and for them to still feel appreciated and recognized for what they're contributing to the team, that team first mentality. But man, Josh and I in our current work with Limitless Minds, man, if we could get leaders to nail the appreciation and the recognition part, how crucial that is. So yeah, that stood out as well.
And the last thing I'm going to say is knowing your value system and understanding it, and then honoring it. Obviously for you, Peter, it's family, but what comes from that is that there's family in your tennis teams too. There's family at Jack Kramer, and then family equals fun for you. And so that fun piece comes out too. And I've been a part of some of those dinners, and there's just smiles and laughter and joy and just absolute pleasure to be around. So that's what we got.
3 steamers with the Silver Fox right there, baby.
Hey man, I was taking my notes here. I was like, sometimes,
Well, I've got like 4 pages of notes, Peter, if you want me to send notes of who you are, so you don't have to ask your wife next time.
I wasn't listening to anything. I was just making it up as I went along, so I don't have any notes.
That's on brand right there.
Yeah. I'm giving a clinic tomorrow to an international tennis symposium in Irvine, and I couldn't find any players, and I put it in my little chat I have with my 3 sons. I'm like, hey, can any of you help me? And all 3 said, we're in.
Nice.
I mean, so we're going to go do this clinic. Some of them haven't played tennis in months, so it could be hilarious. And they all have a different opinion of me.
Call D-Win, get him out of his garage office.
D-Win will be out there stretching, getting ready.
That's awesome.
I love it. Well, I'm speaking to my alma mater, the tennis team, the men's and the women's tennis team, in a week and a half, Peter. And I'm not a tennis guy, but you gave me some great street credibility to walk in on and say, who I was just talking to. So I took Principia College, right outside of St. Louis. So
a lot of indoor courts, Peter. A lot of indoor courts.
I think any coach can coach any sport. I think good coaches are good coaches. and X's and O's. A lot of people can do that, but it's the building up of people, and kind of Pete Carroll. I watched that. I had a front row seat for that. So
which is why we hope that the value of this podcast is we get to talk to like amazing leaders like yourself, often in the sports world, but these are transferable values and qualities and behaviors and standards. And so, thank you again for being open-minded to let us tap into that today.
It only cost me one dinner to get him on here. So it's all good.
Good dinner.
That's
Marlene,
Hey, I'll be there next week. Let's go.
We know you're getting a steamer in the stocking.
Steamers for everyone.
Well, like we like to say, obviously, Peter, this applies to you, but you don't have to be sick to get better. So thanks so much for joining in. We'll talk to you soon.
Boom. Thank you.